furrow on my father's brow. The echo of 3 lifeless bodies he thought he had long forgotten. Each time sunlight touches my coat, he sees again what he once tried to burn away. I am the child of the one who ended the white bloodline. And also the only one who still carries it within and endures. This is Throne of Timbavati, Rise of the White Lion. Before there was a roar, there was the fall of a star. Before there was a pride, there were the ashes of an ancient curse. There was a night long ago when the sky no longer knew east from west. A great white star tore itself from the heavens and hurled down to this earth. The elders of the Shangjan village called this place Timbavati. It means the place where the stars fall. The fallen star exploded in light and flame. What it left behind was not ash, but a new bloodline. Fur white as the mist before dawn, eyes burning like living embers. They were called the White Lions. Only in Timbavati could this bloodline appear naturally. No one could create it. No one could end it. It flowed through the queens of the Birmingham pride. In every claw mark, every drop of a mother's milk, every roar that called the past back home. Each time a white lion opened its eyes, the elders would say, "Another star has just fallen, one last trial from the blue sky above." But even fallen stars can be dimmed. We were hunted. We were scorched. We once vanished. Birmingham pride once belonged to us. Now, it belongs only to those ruthless enough to survive. On the edge of Timbavati lies, and beyond Ngala Private Game Reserve, what humans call a sanctuary. Ngala in the Shangan language means lion. But I call it the frontier, where law meets chaos. Ngala was merged into Kruger National Park. Humankind calls it safe. But how can this place be safe when blood still seeps through the roots of trees? When every gust of wind still carries the roars of those whose names are lost? I grew up in the crossroads of two worlds. Ngala, where the antelope run by instinct. Timbavati, where I run for the past. At a time when Nala burned so hot the earth itself seemed to groan, my mother gave birth to me. She was one of the last daughters of the Birmingham Pride who still carried fire in her eyes after the slaughter by Ross. And my father, he was the bastard king, the one who wiped out every cub in the Pride when he seized the blood-stained throne. He ended the lives of all three white lions that had returned after decades of absence. And yet, he made me. In his eyes, I was a rebellious legacy. In the eyes of the other males, I was a rival who hadn't yet grown. And in my mother's eyes, I was the final attempt of a dream torn apart. From the moment I opened my eyes, the Pride split in two. On one side, those who followed the roar of Ross. On the other, the lionesses who carried fire within, those who still remembered the scent of blood from the three fallen white cubs and saw me as the last flicker of light. I lived in the shadow no one chose. My father despised me. My mother feared I would become him. There is one thing no one wants to speak of. Birmingham Pride was the origin of one of the most powerful male coalitions in the memory of the Sabi Sands region. The Birmingham Male Coalition. 5 brothers were once our blood, but then they were cast out. Such is the law when a lion comes of age. They grew up beyond the borders, came together as one. Swept through Sabi Sands like a genetic storm with fangs and memory. They once brought down the Mapogo, once made Malamala tremble. once ruled for years, fathering hundreds of offspring. But that was not the worst thing to happen to Birmingham Pride. There was one who came after, from the north. Eight dry seasons ago, the grasslands were still green. The rains did not retreat too soon. Two lionesses of the Birmingham Pride, my mother and another sister, gave birth one after the other. One litter of 4 cubs with a single white lion. Another litter of 3 cubs, and among them 2 white lions. 3 white-borns in less than 6 months. 3 sparks in a land that still believed in legends. For a white lion to be born, both mother and father must carry the recessive gene. It is a rare genetic mutation that controls coat pigmentation. It does not affect the eyes or the skin. When both parents carry the gene, the chance of a white lion being born is just 25% with each birth. And yet, we had 3 in one season. Timbavati called it a return. But genes could not protect us from the tongues of those who fear what they cannot control. Ross came from the north with another male lion. They were the Ross Males Coalition. They carried no legacy. Only the ancient law of biology. Eliminate all cubs that are not their own. To bring the lionesses back into estrus, to rebuild the pride with their own blood. And so, the entire new generation of Birmingham Pride was lost. Even the 3 stars of Timbavati. Not one survived the first season. Nala was among those who remained. She never spoke of that night, but I see it in her gaze each time the crescent moon rises. In the way she roars softly into the dark, as if calling out to someone whose name she dares not speak. Then, one season later, she was with cub. And Zakubasa was born. That was me. A few seasons after me, Tala, another lioness, gave birth. And in her womb, another shard of the moon opened its eyes. ILA was smaller and weaker than I was, but just as white as the unmelted mist. Ross had ended the first white generation, and now he was the father of the second. The irony of genes, the arrogance of creation, the subplot of conflict. Nala paid with blood and scars upon her body to keep the bones of Birmingham intact. She told me, "Wait, Do not roar too soon. Those who roar early often fall before the full moon rises. She taught me how to walk without leaving a trace. How to hear the grass as it shifts, how to lower my head when Ross looked, so he would not see the fire in my eyes. But I am not stone. I cannot move through each day without feeling the fire in my chest strangled by restraint. I saw Ross, the one who took my brothers, her cubs. And each time he smiled, I saw the spirits of the 3 young white lions cast out from the pride's memory. My mother wanted me to live, but I wanted not to forget. Yet Ross was not the only one who saw the fire in me. The younger males in the pride began to grow uneasy. Their eyes cut into me like unsheathed fangs. And then it came. On a dry season night, the pride began to move. The target was a herd of impala sheltering among the scorched acacia. They went, and I followed. But halfway through the path, they changed direction without warning. In the sweltering wind and the hiss of late-waking snakes, there was no roar, only the sound of my own breathing. I returned to the pride with the blood of a young impala still on my teeth. No one asked. But in my mother's eyes, I saw something had shifted. She knew. The fire in me was no longer something she could teach. It was something she would have to choose to stand beside or leave behind. The hunting trial. The first time I hunted alone, I was not yet 18 months old. At this age, only about 20% of lion cubs survive in the wild. That number is not decided by the antelope, but by our own pride. Hunger, illness, rival predators, and abandonment. I was one of those left behind. That night, the mist fell low. The ground was wet beneath my paws. The wind blew from east to west, ideal for a hunt if you came from the other direction. We began in proper formation. I held the left flank. One of the 3 young males led the front. The impala herd ahead, around 10, including 1 dominant male and several pregnant females. Their hearts can reach up to 180 beats per minute when fear sets in. Their hind legs are long, tendons tight, able to leap 10 meters in a single bound. Nella always taught me about that, but I lacked the experience to understand. We closed in silently. The target's night vision grows less effective under fog, around 50 meters at best. But then, when I signaled the shift in movement, the pride did not respond. Those who called me brother had changed direction. I was left alone. A young male who had never hunted before. I saw 1 female impala, separated from the group, chewing grass. I crouched low, my heart pounding faster than hers. Then I lunged, too soon, too loud. backward kick struck my left shoulder. A male lion's skeletal frame does not fully develop until around 3 years of age. My scapula cracked. I skidded across the soil, slammed into stone. My back bruised. Blood streamed from my knee. I crawled into the bushes. Licked the wound, then licked my own tongue to make sure it still tasted of blood. That was the first failure. I recalled my mother's lessons. The wind is either your ally or your sentence. If you don't check the wind, 70% of the hunt ends before it begins. Prey is not a meal laid out on a banquet table. One wrong sound, one heavy step, and their reflex to survive will end you before your claw meets their throat. Do not trust the pride. Do not trust those who hunt beside you if they look at you like something they've yet to define. I lay there until daylight broke. But after that night, I began to track. I did not hunt, I observed. I measured the angle of a neck snap when impala turned. I counted their steps when they shifted direction. I learned how to use tall grass to hide my shadow, how to let dew's delay blur my trail. I learned that if you cannot hunt, then become the darkness that leaves no trace. But the territory of Birmingham was never at peace. That day, the wind carried a strange scent. Not blood, not flesh, but the pheromones of outsiders. A group of unfamiliar lions had crossed the western border. 3 fully grown individuals. Their combined weight could reach up to 500 kilograms. Ross caught their scent before they even came into view. He snarled, roared like thunder splitting in half. Mother told me that's how male lions assert dominance across a range of 8 to 10 kilometers. Ross charged straight into the wind, never checking for ambush. I stayed behind, beside ILA. Male lions often fight alone when their claim to power is challenged. Coordination is not the instinct of one who's grown used to roaring solo. The encounter lasted less than 2 minutes, but long enough for me to see something I had never seen in Ross. He wasn't fighting to protect. He was fighting to be seen. In the chaos of the clash, ILA became separated from the pride. I caught movement in the reeds, against the wind. A lioness from the rival pride was stalking ILA. Her angle of attack, 40 degrees from the rear, a blind spot for a cub not yet 1 year old. I waited no longer. I leapt from the brush, lunged at the stranger, bit into her neck. The spot I aimed for was the junction between vertebrae C2 and C3. Bite deep enough, and the opponent's front limbs go numb. We wrestled in the grass. There wasn't much blood, but the scent spread far. ILA escaped. Ross never looked back. When the dust settled, I returned. My eyes met those of the lionesses in the pride. I knew I'd been seen as one who might one day take the mantle. In that moment, I understood. True power belongs to the one who knows what they are holding. Not because it is theirs, but because if it's lost, all that remains is dust. From that day on, my scent began to cling to the borderlands. I started leaving paw prints where only Ross had been allowed to tread. I knew what my father was doing. Isolation is a slow kind of undoing. It leaves no wound, but lets you rot from the inside out. I was no longer allowed to hunt with the pride. No longer allowed to sleep within the circle of backs. No one called my name after sunset. Ross never touched me. He simply made everything needed to survive vanish from around me. I recognized this form of ending because my mother had survived it. And I was the result of a forgiveness never spoken aloud. Each day, I was forced to ask myself, how am I any different from him? Every time I roared, I heard my father's voice. Every time I hunted, I remembered how he never waited for anyone. Every time I saw fear in the eyes of my own kind, as I drew near, I saw the same look my mother once gave to him. If I fought my father with violence, I became him. If I endured, bowed, stayed silent, I became the shadow he left behind. I stood in a place where choices no longer had right or wrong. Only the loss of something within, no matter which side I chose. I didn't know who I was protecting. The pride? My sister? Or just a picture in my mind of a white lion who could survive without becoming a monster. Timbavati knows no winter. Only seasons that can end you quicker. That year, the dry season came early. The rare rains had only cracked the earth's shell before vanishing. The grass withered soon. The rivers emptied fast. The impala herds moved to lower ground, closer to the Ngala border. The Cape buffalo gathered near the last mud-clinging waterholes. It was the only time of year we had to choose between slowly fading into weakness or risking a hunt for larger prey. Ross chose the latter. The buffalo hunt was decided swiftly. It happened in the eastern lowlands near the dry banks of the Letaba River. The earth cracked like dry claws. We tracked a small herd, about 30 Cape buffalo. Most were mature females. 2 old bulls lagged behind, seemingly separated. An opportunity if the pride worked together. But Ross rushed in too soon. The male roared before anyone was ready. Lions can only bring down a buffalo by attacking from multiple angles at once. We would aim for the neck, the belly, the flanks. A solo charge is recklessness, and failure is certain. The buffalo countered. Ross was driven back. The herd shifted formation and withdrew cleanly. No casualties, but Birmingham had failed. No meat, no water nearby. A few days later, hunger began to eat us from within. Roars in the pride grew fewer. The eyes of the young began to dull. No one spoke Ross's name. I looked at ILA, Her eyes no longer shone white, only the glint of a breaking weight. I told ILA, "We cannot end here." We moved southwest to the edges of Birmingham. There the vegetation thinned, scattered mopane and coniferous shrubs. Not ideal terrain for ambushing antelope, but perfect for tracking warthogs. Prey rich in protein, fat, and easier to manage than buffalo or kudu. This season, warthogs were drawn to shallow waterholes. I had observed them for a long time. They fed in early morning or late evening, perhaps because their bodies struggle with heat regulation. I found tracks of a female. The impressions were deep, uneven. She might be pregnant or slightly injured. The wind was right. The grass, low, we lay still beneath the brush canopy, stalking for over 2 hours. She appeared exactly as I expected. An old female warthog, front hooves worn, belly heavy. I chose a 45-degree angle, the ideal strike path to avoid the tusks and prevent a head-on charge. The warthog turned, straight into the blind spot. ILA leapt from the side, bit the junction between vertebrae C2 and C3. Just as I had hoped, the motor system failed instantly. It collapsed in 6 seconds. We did not eat right away. We tore the meat, the liver, breast, shoulder, and carried it back through the night. A journey of over 5 kilometers in silence to keep the scent from spreading. 3 lionesses, hungry, eyes dimmed, were waiting. They had once been left behind by Ross after failed hunts. I laid the meat before them. When Ross arrived the next morning, he only looked at the blood-stained bones. Something was about to change. It was a moonless night. The new moon is when our vision works best in the dark, and Ross used that to his advantage. I was lying about 50 meters from the pride, beside a commiphora bush. I always chose that spot for rest, so the wind wouldn't carry my scent too far. Ross came from upwind. He treated this fight like a hunt. I only sensed him when I heard a branch snap under his back paw. Half a second late. Ross struck from my left flank. He aimed to end it as quickly as possible. His 4-centimeter claws could shred the muscles of my neck and destroy my balance. I slammed to the ground. My shoulder slid. Blood spilled. Ross's weight pressed down on my chest for 2 full seconds, but I didn't strike back the way he had. I turned inward, rolled away from his right, protecting my lymph nodes and carotid artery. We tumbled into a shallow dip in the land. Dust shot into my mouth, into my eyes. No light. Only breath, and the sound of my heart beating like a war drum. I didn't fight to finish him. I wanted time, distance, to wear him down. Male lions fight with peak force in the first 1 to 2 minutes. After that, stamina collapses because of heavy muscle structure and rapid oxygen burn. I knew that. My father was no longer young enough to remember it. I waited for the next bite. Then, as Ross lunged, I dropped low and drove his chest to the ground. For the first time, I placed my fangs on my father's throat. When I stepped back, his breathing wasn't a roar, it was surrender. Ross stood up, didn't look at me. He didn't look at the pride either. My father's footsteps passed out from beneath the trees. No one followed. perhaps he would walk west, where the cracked earth and dying grass waited. The lionesses came to me. In Timbavati, there are two ways to survive: kill to endure, or live without needing to kill. I chose the second, and for the first time I saw fire in the pride's eyes, not to burn, but to warm. I do not sit on a throne. There is no throne in Timbavati. Only dust, sand, and the memory of the earth. I did not become a ruler. I became the shadow of fire. Ayale is pregnant. In Timbavati, bloodlines are not written in names. They are written in color. And the color of the child she carries might be white once more. This time, no one calls it a curse. No one fears the light falling among golden coats. No one ends a star simply because it shines brighter than the rest. And then I smelled it, the metallic scent on the wind. Not blood, but the scent of familiar fangs. The blunt honesty in the scent marks. Claw marks deeper than usual on the tree trunks. A distant roar, low, brief. I knew that scent, the scent of those once born of Birmingham pride. Those who bear the name of my brothers, but who grew up in a different land, under different laws, and with different intentions. I am fire, but I do not burn my pride. I am the fallen star, but this time I will not fade. And at the edge of the world, where dust lies thicker than grass, where roars do not echo but sink into the soil, I know the ones who bear the name Birmingham are watching.